anybody. And yesterday, Adam Brittenberg was like, I still kind of don't quite understand it. Boiling it down, like how far away are we before football players are simply employees of the university? Now, here's the other part of this. Here's the other part of this that is going to be very interesting. If you were a football player and you think you're pretty good, Brendan, do you want to be an employee of a university where you have a contract and maybe like right now?
Depends.
Right now, if you are a football player of starting caliber of a Power 4 school, you are on a gravy train with biscuit wheels. You really are. Like no athlete outside of maybe top-tier NBA players who are making gajillions of dollars. We talked about that yesterday. No athlete's got a better deal right now than starting caliber college football players at a heck, not even at a Power 5, Power 4 school. If you're in a, what are we going to call is it still the group of five? Or
I know it's
the non-power.
It's silly.
It sounds mean to say non-Power 4, but even then, if you are any kind of successful in college football right now, you love this system because every single Christmas teams are going to come a-calling. What a Christmas gift you give to yourself, right, is that I don't have to worry about if my coach leaves because I can leave right away. You have any sort of luck on the field, you're getting re-recruited, but with money this time. You can name your price. You can start a bidding war. Does that all stick around if, in fact, this case is settled and they become employees and they can be paid directly by the schools? Because it sounds like a nice, clean little package. But if I'm a quarterback in good standing, have rocket arm will travel. Name your price, boys. I don't know if I'm a good college football player if I want to be an employee, but
question with
you're
that.
you're the backup punter, and you're like, guys, I'd like some of this NIL stuff too. Can I get $80,000? Which what's that? That's going right for a backup punter, right? That's got to be fun. If you have no NFL aspirations, you're like, I am good enough to play in college. I have no NFL aspirations. And I can make $80,000 and think about the fun you can have in college. You want to be an employee, but if you're good, I don't know. Yes, your question.
I mean, I guess it comes down to, Justin, what are the perks going to be? Because I'll say this, we've talked about things like eligibility just becoming a number in the future. And
yeah,
again, Justin, what if we start treating college football players like professors with tenure and university benefits and pensions? And I mean, just I'll say this, folks. It's a pretty lucrative gig to work for a university. I'll say that.
Here's what I think about that. I don't know if you're ultimately going to have to regulate the eligibility thing, and here's why. It's like a social understanding, not exactly a rule. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you walk into a crowded situation, right? Unless you're at the airport, where Brendan and I will both be later today.
Sunday for me.
You're Sunday. I'm going to be at the airport later today. Unless you're at the airport, which nobody gives a bleep about a line. But most places, you're at a bar, you're checking out at the grocery store. You respect the line, right? There's a line. There's no rule that says you have to get in line, but you respect the line. But there's always one outlier who's just like, nope, I do this. And you're like, well, line's back here. And like, yeah, no, I just got it. But it's a rough analogy, but what I mean is I think most college football players want to just go for 4 years or 5. I don't think there is a big, long line of guys that if you are not going to the NFL want to stick around in college. Every year you have less and less in common with your teammates. Every year, maybe your coaches are looking to replace you. So I think the eligibility thing is just socially going to take care of itself.
I'm just saying, Cam Rising probably has tenure by now.
I'm with you in that. I think there's always going to be outliers.
He was where this joke came from, but it's like, Justin, would you be surprised if Kyle Whittingham's like, hey, the backup behind Cam Rising is actually better. Sorry, guys. Cam has tenure, so.
Because I'm trying to, let's get out of the quarterback realm. And, is there a running back who is, really good in college, but, not good enough to go to the NFL, considering what the running back market is in the NFL? You know what I mean? Could you see, a running back just stick around for 8 years and just be like, I can make NIL money, play 12 games a year, stay on college campuses with all the pretty girls, and just live my best life. Or I could go play special teams in Cincinnati. Do you know what I mean?
It's true. How many years could Royce Freeman have played at Oregon? Right?
Royce Freeman's a very good example. Royce Freeman could have played another 4. Could have played another 4.
And I said,
but it isn't the end. But yeah, and then he goes to the NFL, and he was a backup in Denver.
Yeah.
It's never quite clicked, but yeah.
And now he's career backup, right? So.
Or how about this? And let me preface this. This is not shade. I love this man. He brought me so much joy. What if Michael James just stayed at Oregon? Michael James was a second-round pick to the 49ers. Didn't work in the NFL. Didn't work. But he worked in the offense that Oregon was running.
I think it was size.
What if LaMichael James had unlimited eligibility?
Was it size? Because he definitely had the speed. He was one of the I was always super surprised that he never popped in the NFL.
I think there's a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah.
Part of it, I think, was size. I think part of it is just there is an NFL culture that some guys just don't fit into. They just for whatever. And then there are some guys where you're like, whoa. How did you come from a school that nobody had ever heard of? You're a Patriots fan. Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman was a quarterback at Kent State, but they're just mentality-wise, he just fit the culture of the NFL.
It's true.
And it just worked. So we may dive into that. Oh, we definitely have to talk about the Scotty Scheffler video. Not a good day, I think, for Louisville PD yesterday. The internet was cooking Louisville Metro PD yesterday, so we're going to dive into that. Interesting wrinkle in the NBA going back to NBC and TNT losing it, and I have some thoughts. I have some apparent solutions and some hard truths. Some hard truths that we are going to have to dive into when you look at the decisions that TV executives make. And Tyrese Halliburton might be out with a hamstring, because I know that teams and players and hamstrings, they don't push it. So if Tyrese Halliburton misses at least one game, man, the Boston Celtics, I know there is the whole luck of the Irish thing, right? But it's you get Miami without Jimmy Butler. You get the Cleveland Cavaliers 2 games without Donovan Mitchell. And you may potentially be playing up 2-0 and playing game 3 without Tyrese Halliburton, all on your way to the NBA Finals. So we're going to dive into that as well. But
it's that parquet floor, Justin.
Think so? What is it? Lucky? Isn't that what they call the leprechaun? Isn't his name Lucky? But before we dive into all of that, which we shall do, it is the end of the week. It is the end of the beginning of a holiday weekend for most of you. If you have to work, tip of the cap. And we like to celebrate on this show a particular way. We do it with an upgraded caffeinated beverage, a.k.a. it is time to open up Fancy Coffee Friday. Here we go. Oh, that is right. It is Fancy Coffee Friday. You did it. You did it. You made it to the end of the week. You worked your tail off. You hit the nose to the grindstone. Whether you were in the cubicle, wheeling and dealing, smiling and dialing and stacking up paper, or whether you were behind the wheel, delivering all the packages that we are too lazy to get off our fannies and go buy ourselves, or whether you were maybe on the construction site, hammering away, Either way, tip of the cap to all of you. You are the hardest working audience in all of radio, and we appreciate you spending just a smidge of time with us. So celebrate with us by grabbing yourself a delicious fancy coffee. Treat yourself on a Friday. And you know what? There will be no order shaming. No, none whatsoever. You want to come with a caramel macchiato, and you want to throw whipped cream and sprinkles on that bad boy as if you were 9 years old. You do you today. You want to just go to your local gas station convenience store and throw in a couple extra French vanillas. Maybe you want to mix the French vanilla, and they call it hazelnut, but we know they're filberts. You do you today. Or if you want to get yourself a frozen milkshake-looking Frappuccino, you deserve it because it is the end of the week. We're looking ahead to a 3-day weekend. We have got a ton of stuff to talk about on the big show, so it is time to celebrate. So cheers to all of you. Cheers to you, Brendan. Happy Fancy Coffee Friday. Oh, yeah, fancy coffee's hitting today. It really is. I am pumped up. All right. NBA on TNT might be no more. What happens to inside the NBA? And is there more to this decision? We talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, NBA last night, Boston Celtics take a 2-0 lead over the Indiana Pacers. We have game 2 tonight, Western Conference Finals. I'm on travel brain right now instead of what my basketball brain is going to be. But
I think it's safe to say, Justin, you and I are we're like kids who are almost out.
No, Brendan, I am 10 toes down. I am 10 toes down, and I am focused. I am focused over the next 2 hours and 40 minutes, and we are going to put on a show for the people. But game tonight, going to be on TNT. But it looks as though if the reports are true, and I don't see a lot of people out there refuting it, that this may be the end. This may be the end of the NBA on TNT, and therefore it likely could be the end of Inside the NBA. And we talked about this earlier in the week, and, I thought about this yesterday, and combining it with this other news that I saw that really flew under the radar. Because in all of this, hey, TNT might lose the NBA, therefore it might lose Inside the NBA. What's going to happen with that show? Is that show going to move to NBC? Doesn't sound like it because, again, Ernie Johnson is a Turner Sports lifer and all of that. Then I saw this story. I don't know if the two are related. All right, I'm not an executive, and I don't understand the ins and the outs of major million-dollar deals. But it did have me raise an eyebrow when I saw this story. TNT Sports, that did not throw up a ridiculous amount of money and NBC outbid for the NBA. TNT Sports will air select college football playoff games through a sub-license with ESPN. Remember, ESPN has got the college football playoff rights. ESPN got a mega deal there because ESPN's like, yeah, we run the college football playoff. I know it's just 3 games right now with 4 teams, but now since you've expanded, we own all of it still. And then ESPN's like, well, now that we've got all these extra games, why don't we sell a couple of them off, make some cash, and essentially have TNT, like if you owned a home and then you rent it out, like TNT is going to rent out some games. Now, I don't know how much that costs, but it probably wasn't cheap. And I don't know if you are, as they say, robbing from Peter to pay Paul. I had a boss tell me that all the time.
Maybe one of the best sayings ever.
I would always, shocking, I used to complain about money a lot in my old job. And it was like, well, we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul here. And I'm like, oh, if I hear that one more time. He was a very good boss, though. I liked him a lot. But he did love the robbing to Peter to pay Paul. He loves throwing that out. I don't know if that's what's going on here. I don't know if TNT did not have the funds, did not have the money, did not have the budget to go toe-to-toe with NBC because they decided to dabble and get into and maybe spend some of that money on the college football playoff. But it's hard not to connect the two. You know what I mean? It's hard to imagine that TNT, that has a set budget from Warner Brothers, who that's the parent company, right? Is Warner Brothers
or Turner? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that, because everything you just got to keep going. It's like, all right, it's TNT, and then it's Turner Broadcasting, and then it's Warner Brothers, and then like is Max? I know Max is Warner Brothers, but that's not number one, right? Warner Brothers is the one who cuts the check, right?
And I don't think
just like with NBC, Universal is cutting the check.
Yeah, and I don't think it's coincidence, Justin, that this comes on the heels of when I've read that Max hasn't quite captured as like Warner Brothers kind of bleeding cash right now. So it's like, is it surprising that they maybe can't go toe to toe with NBC, who we talked about earlier in the week, and to your point, probably just made a little nest egg the day they lost the NBA and said, to keep putting money in there every month until they finally.
You think that was like?
I mean,
that's hilarious too. To think like,
right?
Let's go back to like 1998,
and they just kept putting money away.
Like, let's scroll this away a little bit.
They're like, we'll get the last laugh in 2024, baby.
I have a hunch that NBC is like, people still watch The Voice. We're printing money here still. Anyways, It's hard not to imagine that the two aren't related a little bit. And I know that Charles Barkley, who was on another show that airs at this time, but not as good as this show, I know he talked about, TNT's never been in the college football game. And so the timing of it is interesting. So when I saw that, it made me think about this. Now, I love covering the Blazers, and I love being here on Rip City Radio, and I love the ins and the outs of the NBA. But if we're all being 100% perfectly honest, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, football runs the show. You do not want to go toe-to-toe with the NFL. The NFL just took Christmas away from the NBA. Just did. Didn't have to. Chose to. The NFL and football, and in second place, like, you know how in every movie or TV show growing up, like there was the bully, and then there was like the secondary bully? College football is the secondary bully. College football knows not to step on the toes of the NFL, but college football looks at all the other sports and goes like, you don't want to mess with us. You really don't want to mess with us. We have 100,000 people show up to our games in person in very hard to get to places, right? That's what we have. You have a hard time getting people to go to an arena in Miami, NBA. You sure you want to mess with us? Right? The college football is the secondary bully, but always knowing, don't step on the toes of the NFL. Like, oh, you like your college football playoff, huh? We might take that. So, TNT will be airing 2 first-round college football playoff games during the 2024 and the 2025 season. The first-round games, of course, will be played in December and will be played on the home campuses of the higher-seeded team. Did TNT punt the NBA and, unfortunately, with collateral damage, give up inside the NBA? And is this a bigger problem for the league and for the NBA than we all think of? Because when you started hearing the news that the NBA may be potentially going back to NBC, nobody talked about how, man, TNT is going to lose regular season basketball. What did everybody say? Does that mean we lose inside the NBA? Because here's the problem with the NBA right now. Inside the NBA is a better product than the actual games in the regular season. It just is. Too many superstars take games off. The product in the regular season is nowhere close to the product in the playoffs. And the fact of the matter is, when we have had this discussion about what is going on with where TNT is, all we seem to care about is the pregame, halftime, and postgame show. You notice how we never talked about how, like, boy, we're losing our... Are we going to lose potentially? Now, I love Tuesday night TNT basketball. I am a fan. But, Brendan, nobody's talking about losing the games. They're only talking about losing the pregame show. And then when you see also that coinciding with TNT going like, we have no connection to college football whatsoever. Zero, zilch, none, nada. We want to buy a couple? Yep, we sure do. Now, college football has got a very prominent pregame show. College Game Day is still the gold standard in terms of pregame shows. No offense to Inside the NBA, but I still believe that College Game Day is. Is it the same as it once was? No. It's getting a little weird. But it still hits on Saturday morning when you wake up, especially on the West Coast, and you hear that intro music. Did they stick with the Coming to Your City song? Or they might. I know they switched it up. I didn't like the new version. Either way, there's still something about that. Seeing, all the fans there in Morgantown, West Virginia, or in Waco, Texas, or it still hits. But Brendan, I don't think we've ever talked about how, like, other than maybe certain weeks, but like, College Game Day is not better than the games. it's like not more valuable than the games. It's valuable because of the games. Inside the NBA is better than the games. How many times? I don't know about you. I've done it a lot where it's like, all right, it's 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm going to watch the East Coast game. And it's like, oh, this is a clunker. Giannis isn't playing. Embiid's not playing. I'll give it to halftime. I want to see what Kenny and Chuck have to say. You know what I mean? I'll watch it to halftime. That's not a good thing for the NBA as a whole. Now, flip side of this. There are so many other options in the ways of doing business now because we do have streaming, because we are not, as consumers, locked into, well, you have to have this channel, you have to have this channel. There are so many different options. And I know that Ernie Johnson said he's staying with Turner Sports, and I know that Charles Barkley says he doesn't want to go and work for NBC. And I'm stealing this idea. But, you know, when we wrap up the show here on ESPN regular television, Brendan, it's the Pat McAfee Show, right? The Pat McAfee Show, whether you love it, hate it, or somewhere in the middle, cannot deny its impact in the way that sports in the daytime is being presented because it's breaking a ton of rules. A lot of language rules that I thought was sacred, but it turns out, no, you can't. And there was, for years and years and years, a lot of handcuffs being put on shows because of snooty stuffed suit executives. The reason why Inside the NBA worked for so many years is because somehow, some way, and a lot of it's because Charles Barkley just does not care, and then the rest of the guys were able to follow suit. But to the credit of whoever was in charge there at TNT and at Warner Brothers, let them say whatever they wanted. Is ESPN's NBA show very good? No, it's not. And you want to know why? Because there's a bunch of stuffed suits at ESPN who are like, hey, guys, the Knicks are what people care about. It's the biggest market. We have to talk about. And you're watching it and you're going like, this is Knicks propaganda. I feel like I am being sold some magic beans here. And unless you care about the Knicks, unless you care about LeBron, that show, the Inside the NBA, or not Inside the NBA, I don't know, NBA Countdown, that's what it's called. It's not any good because you've got too many stuffed suits trying to tell the people on the desk what to say.
I liked it a little bit more when they had Rachel Nichols before, you know, that whole drama went out the window.
Everybody's got their person. I've seen Rachel Nichols in real life before. Much shorter than you think. Very short. Just very nice. Met her in Seattle. Neither here nor there. But the reason that Inside the NBA was so good is because there wasn't a bunch of stuffed suits saying, Charles, you can't say that about the women of San Antonio. They were just like, no, Charles, you get to say what you want. And that was an anomaly in the sports world. It's why the show works. And there's chemistry, and those guys actually have talent and charisma and moxie and basketball knowledge, right? It's a whole perfect storm of things. But the reason why it works in the ESPN show, which stinks, by the way, doesn't work, is because there are too many cooks in the kitchen at ESPN who want their fingerprints on the show, from executive producers to senior vice presidents and up and up and up. It's one of the problems in broadcast live television. There's too many people that don't know what they're doing getting involved. Well, Pat McAfee kind of shook that up a little bit because ESPN was like, we want this show. And McAfee was like, all right, I own the show. I do the show my way. You want me? Great. None of you tell me what to do. None of you tell me what to do. To the point where he almost kind of tested him, right? Because there are certain things that Pat McAfee was doing that was unheard of at ESPN, would get much more prominent figures suspended and or fired. McAfee's like, no, I own the show. I have autonomy. Is there a place, now that model exists, where Charles Barkley, who owns a production company, says, I will buy Inside the NBA. Cuts a check to TNT. Said, I want to own Inside the NBA. Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, Shaq, they work for my production company, not ESPN. And he goes to ESPN and says, hey, you know your terrible college or NBA show that nobody likes as compared to mine? Give me the Pat McAfee deal. Give me the Pat McAfee deal. You've already done it. You've already set the precedent. And by the way, ESPN's not collapsed internally. I still watch it every morning. First take's a little weird, but
give us hope, Justin, that maybe the rules around broadcast indecency will ever loosen up, because Pat McAfee's pushed that barrier.
Yeah, but even inside the NBA, like, it's not like
that's true.
But the difference is they are able to talk about whatever they want without pushback. I do not believe that the studio show, the NBA Countdown, they don't have that autonomy because there's too many people at ESPN of power. Now, is there a smart person at ESPN that could be like, all right, we've already got a plan in place. We did it with McAfee. Somebody else owns the show. We simply buy or rent the show, but we're not in charge. I believe that's actually part of the deal, too, with the Manning cast. Peyton Manning does not work for ESPN. Peyton Manning works for Omaha Productions. And ESPN pays Omaha Productions to do the Manning cast on Monday Night Football. And he can talk about whatever he wants, and he can do whatever he wants. That's why the Manning cast is good. You see what I'm saying here? They're getting the stuffed suits out of the whole thing. So, if ESPN was smart, if they were smart, and this is not me trying to throw like Kendrick Perkins and Brian Windhorse or who's the host of that show on NBA Countdown?
Actually,
it's that good. Yeah. Don't know.
I feel like it's a rotating. It's not Chiney Ogumake.
She's a panelist.
Yeah, I actually don't know who hosts that show. It's really embarrassing. Is it
Molly Quirm?
No, she does First Take, doesn't she?
But I thought she also might do. Anyways,
yeah,
that's how good it is.
Yeah,
that's
right?
how good the show is.
Case in point.
I know Stephen A's on there, and that's the other thing is they would never do that because Stephen A would fight back.
Yeah, save me the Stephen A.
Yeah, but I mean,
you're right.
Stephen A would fight, but dude, you've already done it with McAfee. Charles Barkley sets up the thing. He's the one who pays Ernie Johnson and Kenny Smith and Shaq and all the production people and the cameraman and everything else. You run it out of Atlanta where it already runs, and ESPN just puts it on pregame. Win, win, win. They win for staying together. ESPN wins for actually having a show around NBA basketball that people will watch. And I win for stealing the idea and presenting it as my own. See? Win, win, win. All right. We're going to talk about some actual basketball coming up in a bit. Is Halliburton out? How significant is that hamstring injury? And Minnesota bounced back at the Target Center in Game 2 coming up. So we'll dive into that. But before we do all of that, I do want to tell you about DeBella. That's right. I talk about DeBella often. Why? Because they are experts specializing in roofing, siding, windows, bath renovations. Take a look around your house. Maybe need any upgrades in any of those? Call DeBella today. They can take care of all those projects, and you can trust their fine work. 15,000 five-star reviews on Google. That number continues to grow each and every day. Plus, they will come to you on your schedule and provide you with a free estimate. It is easy. It is free, it is convenient, and you can take advantage of their financing promotions. No payments until 2025. That's still a ways away, by the way. That's not approved credit. So connect with DeBella today for your roofing, siding, windows, and bath projects. DeBella is Oregon's home improvement expert. All right, we saw the Boston Celtics last night take a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals, but there may be potential bigger news in that series as we head into Game 3 over the weekend. Plus, we have got Game 2, Mavericks, Timberwolves. That game tips off at 5:30 tonight as well. Let's dive in to Round Ball Rock. Yeah, by the way, this might be the final day of Round Ball Rock. Now, you're going to be gone next week, and Michael Shacker's going to be – I don't know if he's going to be here or if he's going to be at home. I don't know if he's going to be, like, at his lair or if he's going to actually be here, but regardless –
We'll assume college football talk.
We're going to – usually around Memorial Day is when we shift gears because – I mean, there's always going to be NBA drama to talk about, and we're going to talk a ton of the Blazers with the draft coming up and everything else, but we're less than 100 days to college football, so – Round Ball Rock shall become on campus real fast. Much like that, those restaurants. Have you ever gone to like a restaurant where you're like, this used to be a Pizza Hut?
Yes.
You look around, you're like, wait. I know this definitely used to be a Pizza Hut at one point.
I've been in like, oh, this was a Subway before. Yeah. Totally.
That's what we do. That's what we do on or like they used to do it on TV shows all the time where it was like they would just keep the set and you're like, that looks a lot like the Family Matters house. Like, yeah, same house. Anyways, basketball from last night saw the Boston Celtics and a 40-piece. By the way, Jaylen Brown showing up big time for the Boston Celtics in the first 2 games. So they have a 2-0 lead. Now, you might be thinking, wow, Justin, didn't the Pacers give away a game in Madison Square Garden, not just TD Gardens, and weren't they down 2-0 in that series and looked kind of cooked before they went back to, so cooked that New York Knicks fans were chanting, we want Boston before Game 3, and they aren't chanting that anymore. They're saying, let's go Rangers because their basketball season is over. But the bigger news is Tyrese Halliburton did not play the final 10 minutes with a hamstring injury. Now, is that precautionary? Is this like we're not going to know probably until Saturday afternoon? Maybe not even then. But Brendan, if Tyrese Halliburton can't go, this one's over.
This is cooked.
This one's over. And this is where I get a little bit nervous. When you hear about like Luka and his injuries, you look at what has Luka's injuries been?
Knee
soreness, calf soreness. And again, I'm not disputing injuries. I'm simply saying when you hear soreness, knee soreness, I would imagine 60% of the players still in the NBA playoffs right now are dealing with some sort of joint soreness.
Sure.
Hamstring, different animal. Different, especially for a guy who is explosive like Halliburton.
Yeah, I think.
And if you're Indiana, again, I don't know. I don't know how many of these organizations think this way, but you can't help but, like, we talked about it with Giannis, right? Why would the Bucks push Giannis out there in a first-round series with a strained calf when it's like, it's not our year. We still got Giannis and Dame together for the foreseeable future. Shut it down. And I thought the same thing about Donovan Mitchell, right? With the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's like, still got Donovan Mitchell, who just got his coach fired. Still got him for the next couple of years. There's no reason to push this. If you're the Pacers, who have been searching since Reggie Miller left, since Reggie Miller retired, which I want to say was 2005, the Indiana Pacers have been searching for a superstar. And yeah, Jermaine O'Neal had some productive years there, and Paul George looked like he was going to be until he broke his leg and then left Oklahoma City. But really, since Reggie Miller, kind of Paul George, you have been waiting for a superstar. You got one. Halliburton's a superstar. He's your guy.
I think that
you got to be ultra cautious here, right?
Yeah, no, I think
I want to see him play, and I want to see this become a series, but I worry when you hear hamstring.
Justin, if the chance for this to be a series ended the second that Jaylen Brown hit that three-pointer in Game 1. If Indiana had won Game 1 and it was 1-1 right now going back to Indiana, Even without Halliburton.
You think that would determine Halliburton's availability?
Not necessarily. I look at this a lot like Zion, right? When he not pop, but hamstring injury right before the playoffs. The Pelicans, Justin, say what you will, they could have put a scare into. Remind me, this is so bad. Who'd they play in the first round? Oh my gosh, and I had them. I'm like, CJ missed the shot. Who? Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing.
It wasn't the Nuggets? Was it the Timberwolves?
Yes.
The Timberwolves,
I believe it was yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
that team that's still it's my brain's mush too when it comes to who was like oh yeah, Orlando was in the playoffs. I get that happened.
Yeah. But all that to say, I don't foresee him coming back if it's anywhere close to serious. And Justin, this could be a sweep, maybe even a gentleman's sweep.
I mean, if they don't get Halliburton back, and hey, it's not like the Celtics are out there like kneecapping guys, right? They're just out there playing, and it just turns out that Jimmy Butler got hurt, Donovan Mitchell got hurt, and now Tyrese Halliburton's hurt. It's good fortune. It's funny how people are acting like, oh, then the Celtics just another cruise control. It's like the Celtics aren't kneecapping people out here. They're just staying. Well, and the Celtics have been without Porzingis, but obviously Porzingis is nowhere close to the caliber that Tyrese Halliburton's at. But yeah, that to me is a bigger story than the game too. Now another big story though is, dude, what got into Jaylen Brown? How about that dude showing up big time?
So good. Like he can be so dumb. I mean, to be 6'7", 6'8", like Tatum is, it's kind of like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to have two wings like that. And no disrespect to Tyrese Halliburton, but I think, and overall, I think this is why you value those players so much, Justin, is like, let's say this team did go to 5, the Celtics were pushed to say game 6, game 7.
Uh-huh.
So Indiana's best player is still a guard. I can then go put a 6'8", one of two 6'8", 220-pound guys on him. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the asset the Clippers had too. So it's like, the Celtics are just built, and I'm sitting here saying that, and I know someone's screaming at the radio going, oh, and ho-hum, they have probably the best point guard defender ever. Yeah.
All right, I want to get this in because we only got a handful of seconds left. We got a basketball game tonight, Mavericks, Timberwolves. Brendan, I am putting my money where my mouth is. I've got my DraftKings pulled up right here. Right now, Anthony Edwards over 27.5. Over under is 27.5 points scored. I am hammering Anthony Edwards. There's the tap right there on the over. There's no way he gets handcuffed again. Anthony Edwards goes off tonight. Now, I don't know if it's going to help him get a win, but he's got at least 35 in him. He's got at least 35 in him tonight. What do you got? Are you like,
yep, Luka's going to win again.
Mavericks sweep you're looking at, maybe?
No, I think...
I mean, if they win 2 in Minnesota and then come back...
I think they'll sneak another one. I really do.
All right. I think the Timberwolves make it competitive, and I think Anthony Edwards has a 27.5. I'm hammering the over. I've already done it. Put my money where my mouth is. All right, we have got hour number 2 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Boston Celtics take a 2-0 lead over the Indiana Pacers, 126-110 victory behind Jaylen Brown's 40 points last night at TD Gardens Arena. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals coming up tonight, 5:30 tip time from Minnesota. The NCAA and the Power 5 have now agreed to let schools pay players directly. 3 cases are now being settled, and the NCAA will pay $2.7 billion in damages. And on the college baseball diamond, both the Beavers and the Ducks were eliminated from Pac-12 tournament play yesterday. Both now await selection Monday for their postseason fates. Play-by-play voice of the Beavs, Mike Parker, joins us in hour number 3, but hour 2 of Rip City Morning starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Friday. How could you not? It's a holiday weekend coming up. All right, Brendan, real quick. Let's we do this a lot during when holidays pop up. Where's Memorial Day on the tiered holiday? First off, let's remember what it's for. Remember those fallen. Now that we have thrown that out, tier it as a holiday. Memorial, it's not Christmas, Thanksgiving level. Would you put it above?
You just love Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving's the best. Brendan, we get 2 days off. We get 2 days off. All right, Christmas is the GOAT. Christmas is the GOAT of all the holidays, right? Like, there, it has its own theme, right? Nobody has Thanksgiving music. New Year's Eve has one song, right? It's Auld Lang Syne. It's not even really about New Year's Eve. Christmas is the GOAT. It's the GOAT of all holidays.
I said I kind of have a different
GOAT.
ranking. Yeah,
You cannot compare the.
like if you're asking me if I love Christmas as much as I love
Not your personal opinion, but just in terms of the way that our society views the importance of certain holidays, Christmas is the GOAT. It just is. You don't put up, as much as I love Thanksgiving, we don't put up Thanksgiving lights. You put up your Christmas lights after Thanksgiving. That's top tier for me. Is Memorial Day above or below Halloween? Now, there's pluses and minuses, right? Halloween, don't get a day off. And don't get a day off on Halloween. But a lot of fond memories as a child, or if you were a parent, a lot of fond memories of taking the kids trick-or-treating and stealing your kids' candy. But Memorial Day, you get a day off. You get a day off in the beautiful month of May. Kickoff to summer. So let's put it in. I know we're out of March Madness, but even though I believe it should be May Madness, college basketball should change and be May Madness. Above or below Halloween?
well above. I mean,
Memorial Day
Halloween,
above Halloween.
Halloween is so overrated.
Oh, this is good. We got Hot Take Friday coming up in 40 minutes, too. Halloween overrated. You're in that tough spot where it's like you're not a child.
I haven't liked Halloween since I was probably 13.
Really?
So it's just once you
Not
stop
even like in
trick-or-treating-
college? Like you didn't get all like a stupid costume and
I did.
And then get just wicked wasted drunk.
Yeah,
and
no,
then
I did.
and then have to like either walk home in the middle of the night or wake up on a random person's couch and be like, did I dress up like a pirate? Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying
Yeah,
the last 6 Halloweens and kind of the adult Halloween without kids, not it.
All right, so Memorial Day above Halloween for you.
Memorial Day is probably my 3rd favorite holiday, if I had to guess.
Above or below 4th of July?
Well below. 4th of July is my favorite holiday.
4th of July is your number one apex.
You ever heard the term Christmas in July? Yeah, there's a reason that was made, especially for us around these parts.
I think you're making the Christmas argument there because by saying Christmas in July is saying that Christmas is such a big holiday that people want to celebrate it in the summer months.
Well,
But that's
you
what
know.
Christmas in July is a bunch of crazy Christmas people who want to sit and watch Hallmark Christmas movies in the month of July.
Can say yeah. I mean, I'm a bit unique. Like I said, I like 4th of July because there's never a better weather holiday.
It's great, especially around here.
You ever had a warm Christmas? Yeah, I don't. No.
But you don't want a warm Christmas. You do because you're a psycho, but
A psycho.
you're
Okay.
a weather psycho. You are.
Okay.
You are. Like this. Brendan, you at least got to understand, while it may not be your perspective, you can see how some people like to cozy up when it's cold outside with a fire and some cider.
It's kind of an unrelatable itch for me.
Your inability to see other people's perspective will fascinate me forever. Like, nope,
I mean it with
I don't
love.
get it. Nope,
I mean it with pure love. But
I know.
Like,
I'm
you know.
just saying, like, these are not criticism, these are observations.
Yeah,
but it is
no.
a fascinating thing
Yeah.
that you, like, I can see, while I may not agree with everything, I can see, like, I see where you're going there. Don't agree with it. You were like, that's dumb. I don't get it. Why would you even do that?
It's fair. It's fair.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't know why you would ever do that. All right. So 4th of July above Memorial Day.
Yeah, then I would.
That's a good matchup, though.
I'd
right?
throw Labor Day in there. That trio needs to be discussed because all
Now,
three.
here's where the Labor Day has got its own problem. I love Labor Day. It's usually my birthday. It's my birthday this year. It's football season.
Weather's fantastic.
Weather is the best it's going to be. But
See, that's a
Is
factor, Justin.
always. But wouldn't you say you got to at least acknowledge, like, it's the end of summer? And it makes you a little bit sad, even though we are far beyond spring or summer break in our
Sure.
lives, and we still have to work during the summer. Still something about Labor Day that just feels like, these shorts and tank tops and flip-flops are going away
I'll
for a
give
while.
you that.
That's
but
the only negative I got. I got all positives for Labor Day. I'm with you.
But-
my only negative is like, yeah, it's all going away though.
yeah, my pushback will be, Justin, very specifically for you and me. For the careers that we've chosen, there is not a better time to do this career than September through December.
100%.
And you add that in to, like, the start of it all. Like, you mentioned Labor Day. Still nice weather. The beginning, like, week one, all your college football teams' expectations
I
are there.
know.
We can all go 12-0.
Is the
Like,
best.
there's nothing
the
better
best.
than Labor Day, man.
I
I
don't
might
know
even
what
talk
it is.
myself into Labor Day above Memorial Day.
Labor Day versus Memorial Day, start of summer, end of summer, right? One's guaranteed great weather.
One is-
not such great weather this
Yeah.
weekend. But here's the thing, and I mentioned this with snow days. There's something in our brains, right, that, like, always goes back to being in 3rd grade. Do you know what I mean? Snow starts falling around here, and it's like you get real excited because in your brain, you're still, like, in 3rd grade. Maybe school's going to get canceled. It's like, no, you're 44 years old, Justin. School doesn't get canceled because you're not in school. And I do think there's also something about, like, the end of summer, because you're right. The beginning of fall is the best for us. But, like, there's still a little bit like summer vacation's over. It's like, dude, you haven't had a summer vacation in 20 years. But you know what I mean? Like, that's still that 3rd grade brain. But yeah, Labor Day versus Memorial Day. What else is in there? St. Patrick's Day, Again, if you have a job, especially when you wake up early in the morning, can't go out on a weekday, what is St. Patrick's Day?
That's kind of it.
I would put Memorial Day second tier holiday.
And also, Justin,
It's not Christmas, it's not Thanksgiving, but it ain't Arbor Day. You know what I mean?
It's true. Some more ammunition over on my side for 4th of July. You said you made a
And I love 4th of July too.
You made a comment earlier. You go, 2 days off for Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
You know, this year
Do we get them?
we do. We get the 4th and 5th off. So take that.
Sometimes 4th of July falls on, like, a Wednesday,
Yeah, I think it's on.
and it's like, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I remember that coming down company wide, like, or so a week ago. And the 4th of July is on a Thursday, and we're also taking off that Friday.
Boom.
So
That's cool.
That's
Hey,
pretty clutch.
listen, I love 4th of July.
Pretty clutch.
I love 4th of July barbecues. I love,
Hot dogs.
dude, do I love hot dogs?
Yeah, I'm
boy.
10 out of 10, Justin. I take a hot dog at a backyard barbecue over a burger. I don't know why, but just I roll for the dog.
Well,
I roll for the dog, man. I don't know why.
Nothing should surprise me anymore about your palate.
No, it shouldn't.
Now, here's the other thing. I will say this, because Memorial Day also, even if it's going to be a little bit cloudy, it might stay dry this weekend. Memorial Day, great barbecue holiday.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Memorial Day, great barbecue holiday. Here's what's interesting about backyard barbecues or grills or cookouts or whatever you want to call them. If you want to be a snooty barbecue, it's not barbecue, Justin. It's like, I know. Look, I got a Traeger. It's not barbecue either. Shut it. I'm having an argument with myself.
You sound like you had that one ready to go.
I did.
Nice.
If you go to a restaurant, you go to like a bar and grill, and you order a hot dog and a hamburger, you're going to get looked at sideways.
You will be.
Somebody's going to be like, whoa, are you okay? Like, did you not eat breakfast? Like, if you go and order a hot dog and a hamburger and some fries, you go to a backyard barbecue, and you only get one, everybody looks at you like, what, are you not hungry? Like, if you go to a backyard barbecue and you don't at least get a hamburger and a hot dog, or if you get 2 hot dogs and some potato salad and some baked beans, like, the side eye you get, if you're just like, no, I just want one, it's like, what, are you not hungry? But if you go to a restaurant or more specifically a sports bar or something, and you were to order a hamburger and a hot dog, you would get looked at weird. Like, okay, big boy, you hungry? Going to a backyard barbecue, not only is it perfectly fine to get both, it's actually encouraged.
Man,
you go to a backyard barbecue, it's like, I'll just have one hot dog. And whoever's manning the grill, like, nah, you want a burger.
It's true.
They're pushing it. They're pushing it on you.
And I think, and I've said forever, I know we ride, and I appreciate Justin riding. The 4th of July sides might be just as good as Thanksgiving sides. When you consider that you get like the fresh fruit, like watermelon's always out at like a 4th of July barbecue. I ride for like potato salad, mac salad. I think you told me you're out on baked beans, Justin, right?
Kind of out on baked beans.
Yeah, oh my goodness. As far as
now,
like
again,
something perfect next to it, baked beans, man. Love it.
Baked beans, there is like delicious, perfectly made baked beans. Big chasm, terrible baked beans.
Oh, yeah.
Cold, out of a can. I know what you did. But you know what I mean? There's a chasm there.
I start with a can, have my own little 7 herbs.
You got to zhuzh it up.
All my little 7 herbs and spices. And, Justin, they are quite delicious.
Keep that under lock and key at the slaughter compound.
But, yeah, no, like, it's...
No, you know what I mean? Though, like, baked beans is like, there is a gap.
Out of a can, it's not it.
No,
it's
cold?
Not it.
Do you warm them up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
you
gotta get them
up,
hot.
Like,
yeah.
You get them, like, cold out of a can, and it's like, no, that ain't it, dude.
Yeah, like, just right. I mean, you can start with the can. It's a fine starting product, but you need some barbecue sauce, some cayenne pepper, maybe even a little, I think we
red chili flakes?
That. We sometimes put a little
bacon?
Tapatio in there to give it a little bit of a kick.
You're burning everybody's palate off. I love it because I love spicy, but
exactly.
Man, I didn't know
I said a little.
I didn't know the slaughters got down
just
like
a
that.
Kick.
All right. This is a great segment, by the way. Didn't anticipate that, but we anticipate more fun because we've got to make or miss coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. This song, which I love, got to be in the top 5 of songs I listened to as a child. Probably should have been listening to. There's a handful of songs where you look back and go like, don't know if we should have been listening to that in middle school. I think Genuine My Pony might be one of them. Anyways, coming up in an hour from now, Mike Parker's going to be joining the show. Excited to talk to Mike Parker. Monday, we have got selection for the baseball postseason. The road to Omaha starts on Monday.
Beavers and Ducks will both be in the postseason.
It will both be in. Will the Beavs be hosting? Will there be a fun-filled extravaganza at Goss Stadium? Will they be firing up the barbecue on the roof of the parking structure? I've been up there. It's fun.
Justin knows.
I've been up there. Don't act like you don't know. Or will Oregon State, after a disappointing loss to Stanford a couple of days ago, fall victim to recency bias and maybe
out the hosting pool,
shipped out to the East Coast? We know Oregon's headed to the East Coast somewhere, probably Florida. Anyways,
they love to send what little Northwestern. They're like, let's put you in the most humid environment possible. I swear that's their goal, Justin.
Did Oregon have to go to Auburn one year? Or maybe Auburn.
Oregon went to Vanderbilt and won the they went into Vanderbilt.
That's right, they did.
And kicked Vanderbilt's tail. I think that was last year.
That was last year, and then blew the Super Regional after getting a Game 1 win. Ran out of pitching. Happens.
It happens. Baseball's fickle.
All right, so we're going to talk to Mike Parker coming up in an hour from now. But right now, it is time for Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
In the words of the great Forrest Gump.
I love Forrest Gump.
Stupid is as stupid does. And
you
got to be pretty stupid to put money on Bronny James to go number 1 overall.
Yeah, okay, this is a thing, right?
Stupid is as stupid does, Justin. I have the numbers in front of me.
All right, so here's where I talk about algorithms so much. And I think there are people in this world that fall victim to the algorithm, that they only look at things through the view of their Twitter or Instagram or TikTok feed or their YouTube shorts or whatever it is. But as I say, as Gloria Stefan once told us, the rhythm is going to get you. At some point, the algorithm is going to get you. And the only way that you can think it is a probable or possible thing that Bronny James could be drafted number 1 overall, which, as you said, people are betting that, like, people have put money on it. And if you put, who cares? It's,
so FanDuel,
what happens if it does happen? It's a huge payout. It's like, if you put a nickel on that, you should have your DraftKings account taken away. But neither here nor there. My point is, Brendan, I think people get in these Twitter algorithms where they only see what the algorithm wants you to see, and maybe they just don't understand that there's no way he's going number 1 overall. There's no way he's going anywhere close to the top 10. He might go in the first round because some team might be that stupid enough to do that, Lakers. But I think this is an algorithm thing. Some 19-year-old, sorry to the youth, some 19-year-old who's maybe obsessed with LeBron James and had his TikTok algorithm showing him nothing but Bronny James highlights actually believes that he's the best player in this NBA draft. That's the only reason I could possibly fathom how anyone would ever light their money on fire like this. How else is this possible?
Yeah, so let's look at the numbers. FanDuel.
I don't even know if I want to know the numbers. It's going to make me weep for society, but please tell me.
FanDuel, of all the bets to be number 1 overall, let's see, Bronny has attracted 30%.
What?
30% of all.
You mean 3%?
No,
Somebody
30.
slipped and hit a 0.
30% he leads. Let's see. So that's the most of any player at the sports book for a FanDuel. BetMGM has him getting 36.8% of the bets. Alex Sarr's next at 14%.
14%, the guy who's actually going to go number 1.
James was not initially listed on the DraftKings market, but is now. But his odds are 200 to 1.
Which is still too low. Because it should be the infinity symbol. If Bronny James goes number 1 overall and you bet $5 on it, you should be able to own DraftKings.
BetMGM president said, "We're not concerned with racking up liability here." I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. They're like, "Yeah, we'll take your free money. Thank you."
I was looking it up. And, you ever wonder, because they always used to say, how do you think those casinos and all those hotels got built in Las Vegas, right? It wasn't built off of donations. It was built off of dum-dums gambling. BetMGM's current net worth right now, care to venture a guess?
BetMGM's net worth?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, several $billion.
$32 billion. And you think, man, how could just betting on sports be a $32 billion net worth? Oh, this is how. Because 36% of doofuses out there are essentially, you could just go to MGM, find an employee and be like, here's $200. Thank you. And then walk out the door. Because that's what you did. I can't believe it. Could you imagine? All right. And I hope that, we will definitely talk about the Scotty Scheffler video. I contend that a week ago was the most bizarre story we've seen in sports in a long, long time, with Scotty Scheffler being arrested at the PGA Championship. That video's not kind to Louisville PD. More on that later. Bronny James goes number 1. We always say, oh, that would break the internet. That would break the internet.
I might be done with the NBA if
that would break the internet. The Atlanta Hawks have chosen Bronny James, or better yet, the Lakers trade up. The Lakers trade up to get, they trade Anthony Davis away.
It'd be funny to see Braun go to Atlanta. That would happen if that happened. So, I mean, again, maybe we need to look at it more differently, Justin, in the sense of
I don't think we're the crazy people here, right? Am I being gaslit here?
Well,
that term gets thrown around a lot. I forget what it even means. I don't know if we are being gaslit or not, but how are 36% of bets coming in on Bronny? How did this happen?
Because I wonder if teams legitimately look at this, Justin, as a ticket to LeBron James. Now, I'm not saying they want to, but let's just throw out a hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
If Portland used one of their 2 first-round picks on Bronny James, could they get LeBron to come to Portland? I'm just objectively, could they get LeBron to come?
But
so that applies for all 30 NBA teams.
I understand, but let's also think about this in a practical sense. Why would you want LeBron James to come? You're not going to help you win a championship.
Sell a lot of tickets.
But I don't think any NBA team of all the 30 that are out there are so hurting for money that they would be willing to put a circus sideshow on the court to sell a couple of extra 200 level tickets. Do you know what I mean? And set your franchise back another 5, 6, 7 years or whatever it would be. That's the thing. I can't imagine. Is there an owner in sports going like, my team's worth $3 billion right now? What do you think? What is the lowest valued
Pelicans.
team? If you're the New Orleans Pelicans, it's still going to be, if they were to sell tomorrow, they could get $3 billion for it?
2.5 maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
That's so much money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So much money as opposed to getting LeBron and his kid for a season. I'm just maybe it's my anti-LeBron. I'm so sick of everybody bending over backwards and acting like LeBron James is just some golden child that, oh boy, if he brings you, it's the land of milk and honey once LeBron James plays for your team. No, it's coaches getting fired. It is GMs being told what to do. It is wasting draft picks on his kid. This is not a valuable move. It's not a valuable move. You know what is valuable? Putting a team together that can win and winning championships or competing for championships, because those teams don't have problems selling tickets. This is my TED Talk. 36%. I weep for society. Brendan, I weep.
Yet, if it happened, you'd have a lot of really rich people.
It would bankrupt the sports books.
It would probably bankrupt several of them. I don't doubt it. Because now there's going to be copycats and people who do it anyway.
Now, they say never, right?
Pretty good to say never on this one.
This is a never. Oh, man.
All right.
Stupid, just light your money. Go outside, light your money on fire. At least it'd be fun to watch.
Exactly. Okay, moving on here on Make or Miss.
I saw that story, and I was like, I didn't dive into it because I instantly was like, felt an anger inside. And then I was like, just like this Shedeur Sanders stuff, he ain't going number one. He at least is going to get drafted, though. And then you said 36%. And I was like, flabbergasted. All right, moving on. What do we got next?
All right, up next here on Make or Miss.
Flabbergasted, I say.
Up next here on Make or Miss. After watching the trailer, I'm all in on FX's Clipped. You seen that?
Yeah, I'm kind of in on it, too.
It looks so good. Give some context in case anyone doesn't know what it is.
Okay, so handful of years ago, the Los Angeles Clippers were owned by a terrible, terrible person. Slumlord, who did not have a good track record with renting to minorities, and also did not have a good track record as a generous owner in the NBA. Forget his name. Why am I blanking on his name?
Oh, Clippers? Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling was the man's name.
Yeah.
And he was kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
But he was super rich, and he got rich through real estate, and he was he was one of the down in Los Angeles to essentially gentrify traditional African American and Hispanic neighborhoods. That's how he got his billions. He gentrified the neighborhoods and then would not rent to said tenants of those communities after you had taken the property away from them. Not the first guy to do that, not the last guy to do that, but that's how he got his money. Then he went and he owned the Clippers, and it was kind of understood that not really a good guy, but then he decided he got divorced. Or was he divorced at the time?
He wasn't divorced.
He wasn't divorced.
No, that's the great irony of this.
He was having an affair.
Publicly and openly.
Yeah.
Like, the wife was like, oh, okay. Like,
with a woman named V. Stiviano. I remember her name.
Yeah.
She gave Magic Johnson a hug or something.
Yep.
And also brought an African-American friend to the Clippers game, and Donald Sterling scolded her for that, and she recorded him. Is he the first to get canceled?
Yeah,
Is he the first canceled?
Sure. I mean,
like NBA anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about how...
Because that was before, we did the whole canceling thing.
And it's not like we moved into that culture afterwards. We kind of reverted back, and, which is interesting.
So now... FX is going to do a whole series on this.
Yeah,
because it is it's not OJ ridiculous, but it's
yeah,
close.
I mean, what caught me, Justin, is the casting looks fantastic. Lawrence Fishburne as Doc Rivers seems to be well done. I like Ed O'Neill as Donald Sterling, taking the Modern Family out of Modern Family. I always
it's funny. Again, you think of Ed O'Neill as Modern Family.
Right.
He's Al Bundy to me.
Right.
Exactly. He will always be Al Bundy.
Right.
He threw 4 touchdowns for Polk High
and then,
in the city championship. Did you know that?
No. I did not. And then, and then now we're very familiar with who plays Ed O'Neill's wife, because she was just in Yellowstone as the evil market equities CEO.
Oh yeah, that person.
So yeah, Jackie Weaver. I mean,
I would never. You could give me a million guesses, I would have never gotten her name, but yeah.
Kelly O'Coin's in there too. It's a solid.
Kelly O'Coin's on there.
Yeah, it's a solid lineup, man.
Kelly O'Coin.
Yeah, it's a solid lineup. And then you look, and it's it came. It's kind of based on the 30 for 30 podcast, the Sterling affairs. So
there was a long history of these kind of biographical shows or TV movies that were not good. All right.
Give me an example, one that didn't hit. Justin.
Brian Dennehy played Bobby Knight in in a ESPN original. There was a Michael Jordan one that was not good. There was a Tiger Woods before the Thanksgiving 07. It was just like, hey, it's the Tiger Woods story. And I don't know if it was ESPN, but it was not good. And there's a long stretch of like, Barry Pepper played Dale Earnhardt. That one was actually kind of good.
That was a good movie.
That one was kind of good.
The Dale Earnhardt movie was sneakily
But there was
underrated.
a lot of bad ones.
Although
Where it's like, I'm watching Brian Dennehy try to be Bobby Knight, and it's just like, you can't, like, you're not pulling it off, Brian Dennehy.
Though, what do you say though? Like, I remember the whole.
But the OJ one kind of changed the game. Because, like, you watch the OJ one, and you're like, that was so good. And Cuba Gooding Jr. did a good job.
I usually like to see some of my basis is also like if it's based on true subjects, like what the family says, right? So it's like, again, I told you very recently, and for like I watched King Richard recently and learned that Venus and Serena Williams said we love the movie, like it was start to finish, like pretty darn accurate, right? But
accurate to the point of view of the Williams sisters.
Well, is that would you not want a movie that's made positively about you, Justin?
100%, I would. Yeah, I want it glowing. I want it more than The Last Dance. I almost want some lies thrown in there.
Yes,
but no.
So,
but like, because I remember Richard Williams did not have the best reputation, but the movie portrays he was more driven than. But anyways.
But yeah, no, like I remember
it worked. His two daughters are the greatest of all time.
No, it's true, and like, but to your point, like I remember like I'm pretty sure the Earnhardt family sued the makers of that movie because they didn't really like how that movie portrayed them in some certain lights.
But like, yeah, there was a handful of like I remember. I can't even remember what it was on. It might have been on like A&E or something. But there was like a Tiger Woods. I'm trying to think of like I can't think of the actor's name. But like it was essentially like the Earl Woods story, and turns out it was just such a bad TV movie. Then you had the OJ miniseries, and you're like, oh, okay, they can pull it off if they. This one, I think they might pull off.
It looks really good.
The Joe Paterno one on HBO was really good.
Yeah, that was a deep cut.
They pulled that one off, I thought, very well. Because sometimes, like when you see Al Pacino as like that's Al Pacino, like doing a bad Joe Paterno impression, but he actually like pulled it off.
I only saw that maybe once or twice, and that still gives me goosebumps. Just like that movie was insanely powerful.
But I'm down. I'm down for the Sterling Affairs or whatever. Clipped, is that what it's going to be called?
I would assume probably it'll just be like one season.
Who plays Doc Rivers?
Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne. Give me the gun, Trey.
That's why I said solid.
Give me
solid actor choice.
The gun, Trey.
And
did you ever see Boys in the Hood?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude.
And it looks like from what you see, because this is all like, I forgot these recordings were released during.
What was his name? Morpheus? Was he Morpheus in The Matrix?
Yes.
Yeah. Red pill, blue pill guy.
Yes.
Now he's Doc Rivers.
Yes, good call. This was all released 2014 NBA playoffs. Clippers, Warriors, with the baby Warriors we would come to know, but like there's like in this, like they're gonna have someone play Steph, someone play Clay, someone play Chris Paul, someone play Blake Griffin. Like that's kind of cool.
The only thing I hope, can we get the basket? Put basketball players and teach. It's better to teach basketball players how to act than to teach actors how to play basketball. Because if you watch an actor try to shoot a jump shot and you're just like, that guy cannot shoot.
You mean like the quality Bo Cruz? Yeah, they taught. They didn't have to teach Juan Hernangomez how to play basketball.
Teach him how to act. Do not teach an actor to try to play basketball. That is a failure every single time. All right. Coming up next, we wrap up hour number 2. 620, Rip City Radio. All right, it is time to wrap up hour number 2. Still got a whole third hour ahead. Very excited. The Scotty Scheffler video was something, wasn't it? Could it possibly be that the video shows something different than was put down in a police report? Bah, that never happens, does it? Especially when that particular officer did not have his body cam activated.
Probably should have been on.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Louisville PD. So we might dive into that. Also, this college football thing with the NCAA and the settlement and what does this ultimately bring. Plus, Mike Parker is going to be joining the show. Very excited to talk to Mike coming up in hour number 3. But it is the end of hour number 2. It is the end of the week. We head into a holiday. And, you know, we like to spice things up a little bit. Spicier than Brendan Slaughter's baked beans that he might be serving at his Memorial Day barbecue, even though he's not having one because he's going off to Hawaii. But we like to spice it up a little bit. So it is now time for the Memorial Day barbecue version of Hot Take Friday. Here we go. All right, so let's dive into this. First Memorial Day backyard barbecue hot take. Pasta salad, criminally underrated. Criminally underrated.
Pasta salad's good.
Like, more people, like, we need less mediocre potato salad. Now, I love potato salad, but less mediocre potato salad. And we need more pasta salad at the Memorial Day barbecue. We've already established you got the hamburger, you got the hot dog. Brendan's got baked beans. I don't like the way baked beans sit on my paper plate, but that's neither here nor there. We need more pasta salad. Like a well done pasta salad, so good. Now I'm not talking macaroni salad because it's very, very different. Potato salad, pasta salad, mac salad. Brendan, power rank for me. Is potato salad still the GOAT of barbecue salads?
I'm actually not the biggest fan of potato salad. I like pasta salad. In a true competition, I'll be specific. I know you're not going to find this at your backyard barbecue, but I also can't recreate it. The only macaroni salad I'll eat is Local Boys.
Well, Local Boys,
however they do it and make it kind of sweet.
Hawaiian Time, and they've each got their own little flair. I love Hawaiian Times.
It's not what you buy. You can't buy it in the store. It's impossible.
I don't know how they do it.
Me neither. It's incredible.
That's one of the most hot take. One of the most disappointing things ever is when you learn of mac salad and you go get it at Local Boys or Hawaiian Time, and then you go to the store and you're like, mac salad sounds good, and you get that mac salad, and you're like, this is not what I wanted. I don't know how they do it.
It must be a Hawaiian thing to add a little bit of, like,
do you think they all
sweetness,
just kind of know, and they're like, everybody shut up about it?
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
Everybody be cool, because if the Howleys find out, we're all out of business.
No, I mean, I think it's entirely factual, Justin. But it's considering that you can't buy that in bulk. You know, they haven't franchised it and put it in stores and said Local Boys mac salad and Safeway. I'm gonna go with pasta salad because it's the most widely available and found. Give me some good corkscrew pastas in there. Love it.
Fusilli?
Yeah.
I believe that is the corkscrew pasta. I believe it is fusilli.
Okay.
I
didn't know that, so I was 28 years old when I learned that today.
Yeah, it was an episode of Seinfeld. Kramer made a
nice.
Fusilli Jerry. And it's like, because you're silly. It's fusilli. Where are you on sesame seeds on the bun with the burger? I know you said you go hot dog instead of burger, but
I'd like sesame seeds, but I'm not.
I don't understand why. Hot take. Why once we put sesame seeds on the bun, why did we ever stop? That feels like a moment that we all agreed that yes, sesame seeds on the hamburger bun is a good idea. Why would we ever have non-sesame seed buns? Do you think there's people out there that are passionate about, like, dude, I'm going to I'm going to the barbecue. I'm going to have a couple of hamburgers, but if they got sesame seeds on their buns, I'm walking out. Feels like once we did that, we should have never turned back.
Yeah, I mean, like, Five Guys, I worked there for a while. They have sesame seeds on their buns.
100%.
And, Justin, and all the time that I have been there, I've seen people, who have come in, and properly so, like, ask for lettuce wraps, but I have, like, lettuce wrap burger.
Mhm.
I have never had somebody say, I don't want the bun because of the sesame seeds, so I don't think that's an issue.
That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering, once we put sesame seeds on the bun, why did we ever go back?
Yeah, I don't think
That should just be what hamburger buns are.
I think we're coming up to complain about something, Justin, that very few complain about. Maybe I'm wrong. If you hate sesame seeds on your bun, tweet at us. I'm curious.
I don't know. Don't tweet at me. I don't want to know who you are. What else? What do you got?
My hot take that I got coming in is that, I think, well, first of all, I mean, Justin already kind of said it was a hot take anyway. And my hot take is that Memorial Day does belong in, like, easily the top 3 of holidays.
Top 3.
So you kind of said it was a bit of a hot take, so I had to start there. Now, the hot take that I'll go with that, Justin, pumpkin pie, 1 month dessert.
Yeah, it's really
Is that a hot take? Might not be that hot of a take, but
I
think
give
it's psychopath if you have a pumpkin pie any other month out of the year.
Pumpkin pie is the March Madness of pies, right? It's kind of irrelevant, but you get real excited, at least I do. You get real excited when it comes back every single year. But like, yeah, March Madness comes along. We all get excited. We fill out brackets. We watch the games. We talk about the buzzer beaters, the upsets, and everything else. And then once the nets are cut down and we watch One Shining Moment, we're kind of done with college basketball. Right? We don't do an awful lot of college basketball NIL tracking or offseason or transfer portal stuff. We're just like, we'll pick it back up maybe late February. And it's like, pumpkin pie is kind of that way. You could throw it out in October. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could throw it out there in October, full on November. And I think even all the way up until Christmas, you could throw a pumpkin pie out there. But then, yeah, could you imagine going to a Memorial Day barbecue this weekend and you're like, hey, Steve, Carol, you guys are on desserts. And they're like, great. And they show up with a pumpkin pie. You'd be like, you psychopaths, what are you hiding? I don't trust you. Take your pumpkin pie and leave. Do they even make pumpkin pie? Like, anybody? Like,
yeah.
After New Year's, don't we just put all the pumpkin? Does it go with the candy corn? Just like throw it in a locked vault?
I see it at Christmas from time to time. Like, it's available. And not to mention, Justin, if you go to Sherry's, I think you can get pumpkin pie 12 months out of the year if you so desired. But like, yeah, like I would say never, but like, Justin, you go into Sherry's in June, you can probably find pumpkin pie.
Sherry's versus Marie Callender's. Who's got a better pie?
I'll say Sherry's. I'll go local. It's still a local business-ish.
Marie Callender's.
Yeah, no, Marie Callender's clutch, but I'll go Sherry's.
They bring their fastball when it comes to the pies. All right, we have got hour number 3 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Boston Celtics take a 2-0 lead on the Indiana Pacers with a 126-110 victory behind Jaylen Brown's 40 points. But the bigger story, Indiana's guard Tyrese Halliburton left the game with a hamstring injury. His status for Game 3 still up in the air. We got a Game 2 in the Western Conference in Minnesota as the Timberwolves look to even up the series against the Dallas Mavericks tonight at 5:30. NCAA and the Power Five have agreed to allow schools to pay players directly. Three cases are being settled, and the NCAA will pay $2.7 billion in damages, including back pay to those athletes as far back as 2016. What if you played in 2015? And on the baseball diamond, the Beavers and the Ducks were both eliminated from the Pac-12 tournament in Scottsdale, Arizona. Selection Monday for the NCAA baseball tournament awaits both of their postseason fate. Mike Parker, voice of the Beavs, joins us in 20 minutes. Hour 3 starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Very excited to talk to Mike Parker, Oregon State. Disappointing performance in the Pac-12 tournament, but again, I'm old enough to remember, Brendan, when there was no Pac-12 tournament, and you could just,
I think it's only the third ever.
Go by the merits of what you did in the regular season, and in the regular season, second, they finished second. Arizona won the conference, right? So we'll talk to Mike Parker, get his thoughts on this team heading into the postseason. Do they got a chance to make another run to Omaha? Will they be hosting a regional in Corvallis? It seems likely. Do they do net rating in baseball like they do in basketball?
So they ride with RPI, and RPI is still the biggest name of the game.
RPI still kicking it in baseball?
Yep, still the big name
Baseball
of the game.
hasn't invented their own system.
Right.
And they're like, basketball, that's so sneaky what basketball did. It's like, we all finally got used to RPI, and it was like, what is it? We don't know, but we're just going to kind of run with it. And they're like, no, we do net rating now and quads. Are you a quad 1? Are you a quad 2? And it's like, what is net rating? Don't worry about it. It's just the thing
Pretty
we go
much.
by.
Exactly. So if you were to ask me right now, even unbiased, Oregon State still has a top 20 RPI. They finished second in their conference. I would be shocked if they didn't host at least a regional.
They also,
but you never know.
I would imagine, much like bowl games, and I don't know if they say the quiet part out loud, but they also don't want to throw regionals where people aren't going to go.
Right, and I think they know that Corvallis will
Goss Stadium will sell out,
make some good money.
Yeah,
over 4
so
or
like
5
the NCAA
games.
knows that they're not going to you get that advantage as well. So.
Actually, as of this morning, projection has them as a 14 seed, so they would still host.
So they would still
just
host.
on the cusp.
Right in there.
I mean, they didn't have much room for error, Justin. But, it's kind of funny because it's like, oh, this was the 3rd annual Pac-12 baseball tournament. And just real quick, before we get into what we want to discuss here, Justin, if I have to see, and I know they got to get their inventory out and everything, but I have to see one more commercial because I watched a lot of Pac-12 baseball the last couple of days.
Sure.
Talking about how this is the conference of champions, talking about how they just, are like, like the one where it's like, our stories on campus, and we're talking to USC and UCLA, or, they're showing a Beaver basketball player who is now at USC in Beaver uniform. I mean, it is so bad, Justin, the product. You're like, oh, you wouldn't even know this is a company that's going to go defunct or a network, that will turn its lights off June 30th.
Well, now here's where it gets real interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is a great transition into what we are going to talk about, which is
how about that?
The settlement in the NCAA. Now, there's a whole lot of layers to this onion that I am not a qualified chef to dice up. But
speaking of which, the Bear coming back soon.
Bear coming back?
June 10th, I think.
Do you think it can keep up?
If it's a comedy, I don't know, Justin.
It's not a comedy. It's not a Bear. There's some parts.
But you like it, though, right? You're in on it.
I love the Bear.
Yeah, you're in on
Don't
it.
tell me that it's a comedy. I did not watch it and bend over with laughter. I watched it with dread and fear, as the rest of us watched it. Anyways,
Heard.
Let's get into this real quick, because now that this paves the way for the power conferences to allow schools to directly pay players for the first time, there's another underlying part of this that we're not talking about because it seems like such a great idea, right? Hey, settled the case. The NCAA now, I think, has some teeth again. They may be able to enforce some rules because the conferences are going to go along with it for the time being. But here's the part that I don't know if a lot of people are talking about, which is, okay, yeah, the schools now can pay the players. With what money? With what money? I know. $75 million per school in the Big Ten with their new TV deal. $31 million per school in the Big 12. I don't know what the SEC is getting, but I think it's something very, very. I understand that more revenue is coming in over and over and over again with athletics. But again, what you have to know about the inner workings of athletic departments is they are very expensive to run, right? They are very expensive to run. You brought up the Bear. Restaurants, not that profitable.
Oh, my goodness.
I
got some personal experience with that
I know
one.
you do.
So, yeah,
You've worked at in family biz. Restaurants seem like a great idea.
It's not easy.
Full of customers. Everybody loves the food. Why aren't we making any money here? Food's expensive. Help is. And it's like, hey, football. We sell out 70,000 every Saturday. Why are we still in the there's a lot of revenue or a lot of sports that they still travel as well, and nobody's going to see them play. Like, there's a tennis team that hasn't had a spectator in 5 years. No offense to the tennis folks. I support your ability to play.
Shout out Larry Scott.
But it's not just a Pac-12 thing. And Larry Scott loved the non-revenues.
But no, tell the folks.
But the athletic departments don't have, at least most, a big old pile of cash to just start paying to athletes. So what is this ruling going to ultimately lead to? And Jay Williams was on ESPN talking about this. Paul Feinbaum was on ESPN this morning talking about it. We have been talking about it as well. Get ready for the rich to get richer. Because there are maybe 25 to 30 programs in the country that I think operate on an athletic budget now with new TV revenue deals to where they can afford in their athletic department budget to pay the players. That's why NIL was such a thing. The Oregon Ducks were not paying players. Division Street was. If you don't know what Division Street was, it's Nike. They just call it Division Street. It's Nike. Texas A&M as a university was not paying players directly, and they weren't buying out Jimbo Fisher directly. Because you might say, Justin, you keep talking about all these athletic departments. How do they pay these coaches? The rich boosters did, and now, I am not a rich booster. I hope to be one day, but I am not a rich booster. But I've met a handful, and you know what rich boosters like to do with their money? Whatever they want. Whatever they want. Rich boosters are not going to be in the business of handing over their money to universities and then having universities distribute that directly to student athletes. Rich boosters like to eliminate the middleman. So there's going to be a handful of schools that are actually going to be able to afford to pay players directly. And then guess what that is going to create? A snowball effect where they're going to get all the best players because, as Willie Sutton said, hey, Willie, why you rob the banks? That's where the money is. Hey, Damian Martinez, why'd you go to Miami? That's where the money is. It's not fair, but it's reality.
You had to go there.
Sorry. First thing that popped into my head. Jabbar Muhammad, why did you come to Oregon? That's where the money is.
Well, and Washington.
Dylan Gabriel, why'd you go?
MB's Washington was done being competitive, but you know.
But that's a part of right. Alabama stole Washington's. Why? Because Alabama, they've had all the best players. They are going to get the revenue. And it's ultimately going to create down the pike a super conference is going to happen. There's going to be a super conference, and it's going to be about, I keep saying, look, it's going to be NFL light. There's only about 30 teams that can compete. The rest of college football has been subsidized by the top-tier schools. By the way, not a bad system. It's worked. Your alma mater might have been one of those teams that have been subsidized. It's cool. But now that middleman has kind of been eliminated, we've already seen that players, the good players, the talented players, the top-tier players, are already funneling to the big money programs. Well, how on earth can anybody else compete? And on top of that, the ACC is thinking about kicking Duke and Wake Forest and Syracuse and Boston College out of the conference. Streamline, right? Anybody knows anything about business knows what do you do when the revenue gets a little you eliminate the non-productive parts of the business. Sadly, I've been a part of layoffs. Bunch of you have probably been a part of layoffs, right? All of a sudden, the bottom line isn't quite what it was. You don't think that's going to happen in college football? Hey, the revenue stream is great, but you know who's not? Hey, did you ever see Office Space? Boston College. What would you say you do here? No significant football in the last 15 to 20. Yeah. We know Doug Flutie. Got it. But as Wake Forest. No. Basketball doesn't count. I know. Chris Paul. Tim Duncan. Got it. Football. Wake Forest. What would you say you do here? And it's ultimately because greed is not going to go away. And I think this is what seems like a nice little Band-Aid. And it's like, hey, now they're just going to. No, this is a pathway to super conference. Now, I think the other end of the spectrum, what could potentially be the silver lining in this cloud, all the cast-offs, because there's going to be, Washington State and Oregon State aren't going to be the only cast-offs. They're just the first. And they're going to be sitting on their island on Survivor going like, welcome, Boston College. Welcome, Wake Forest. Because all the cast-offs, once you ultimately get to a super conference that is run by the SEC and the Big Ten, but it's only going to be about 32 teams, all the cast-offs, they all got football stadiums that they want to fill. And I do think there's going to be a secondary, what we'll call it college football classic. And I think that's ultimately where we're going to end up, personally. There'll be the 32 elite, like pro teams. And then there's going to be another division. And it's like, hey, remember college football from 92? College football classic. Here you go. It's all the cast-offs from the Big 12, from the ACC, the SEC. Like, sorry, South Carolina, what would you say you do here? That's where I see this ultimately heading. I see this show heading to a friend of the program in Mike Parker, who's going to join us next on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, efforting Mike Parker. We'll get the voice of the Beavs on here in just a moment as pretty disappointing weekend. Well, not quite a weekend yet. Didn't even make it to the weekend, but a pretty disappointing week down in Scottsdale for both Oregon and Oregon State baseball. But Selection Monday is just around the corner, so we will know whether or not Oregon State's going to be hosting a regional. We'll know where Oregon is going to be headed. Do they get shipped off to the SEC again? Do they have to go all the way across the country again? We will find out coming up on Monday. So very excited to talk to Mike Parker, who is definitely going to be on the call for the Beavs coming up and seeing whether or not they are going to be hosting Party at Goss Stadium this weekend and trying to make yet another run at Omaha. So do we have Mike Parker on we got Mike on the line? All right, great. Okay. Don't worry. Do you want me to go back to talking about pies again? We could do that. We were dynamite with regard to pies. So we got Mike on the line. There we go. Connected, pumped up, excited because we'll find out on Monday with the selection process for the college baseball tournament, whether or not the Beavs are going to be hosting, what the regionals are going to look like, and what are their chance to make a run to Omaha. Back on the big show, Mike Parker. Good morning, Mike. How we doing?
Good morning. Good to have you on. Good to be on with you guys, I should say. Brendan and Justin, nice to be on with you. When we kind of set this for today rather than the other day when we were up at the crack of dawn to go play baseball here, I thought, well, okay, on Friday we'll be talking about the semifinals and the Beavers' chances to win the tournament, and if winning the tournament might even get them back into the national seed conversation. Now, after what unfolded here, we're just still hoping to make sure that the hosting part of it works out. I think it will, but as you have just indicated, and Brendan did too, it's a little narrow. It's close, but I think the Beavers will host.
Well, and that's where, and I can be a bit of an old fuddy-duddy on this, Mike, because Brendan and I were talking about this as we've alluded to you before, our famous pre-show meeting. I'm still old enough to remember when there was no Pac-12 tournament. I don't know, like 4 years ago, and you could still go by the the whole regular season that you've been playing since February, and a whole resume that you have built up for the better part of the spring, and then to have such recency bias come into these conference tournaments, because not just the Pac-12, Mike, I've been hearing like, oh, look at the SEC tournament and look at the boost that certain teams are getting out of the South. And it is frustrating because there was a whole season. If you weren't paying attention, I know you were on the call for all the games where there is a whole resume right there.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I've never been a big fan of the tournament. And maybe because, we're not in the position. Look at Stanford and Cal, and they both are looking at an opportunity to win this thing and get an automatic berth. That I suppose. When I say I'm not a fan of the tournament, I also have to remember Wayne Tinkle and the Beavers in the Pac-12 basketball tournament, getting through that format and then getting to the Elite Eight. So you can't. I can't speak out of both sides of my mouth in terms of decrying a format or a tournament existence when it can help you. Every once in a while, it can be a big boon to something good. But for Beaver baseball, the tournament experience, which ends now, next year all they're going to have is what they did during their regular season, and that might well be enough as an independent, functioning as an independent with a good enough schedule. They're going to have to probably win, maybe even at a higher level in terms of not having that recency bias, as you're talking about, at the end to push them a little bit further. They're going to have to really take care of business in their 55-game regular season. But this tournament has not been kind to the Beavers, really. That debacle 2 years ago with playing UCLA twice in the 100-degree heat, being exhausted, expending their pitching to get through that into the finals, which they did to their great credit, but didn't have enough left to beat Stanford last year, playing both home schools down there when the ball was flying. Beavers lose 13-12 and 14-10 last year. And this year, for whatever reason, the ball wasn't flying, really. And the Beavers certainly scuffled offensively, pitched really well. It's just been a bizarre event for 3 years. I won't necessarily, as much as I regret a lot of things about the demise of our conference, this event in itself hasn't been with us long enough, Justin, as you're saying, to feel any great nostalgia for it. And it really hasn't been a great experience for us here.
All right, so let's kind of look forward on this because Selection Monday is going to happen, as you mentioned, and I know Brendan. I think one of the projections has the Beavs sitting around 14, which would mean they are right there on the cusp of hosting and having a regional there at Goss Stadium. Mike, you've seen all the teams. You've seen the teams that came out of nowhere to make the College World Series. You've seen the teams that had the highest of expectations that didn't quite make it out of the regionals. When you look at this team heading into the postseason, what do you see from this group there in Corvallis and the potential run to a super regional and to Omaha this year?
I agree with Pat Casey, who said at the beginning of the year, and who would ever disagree with Pat really about anything, but Pat did say going into the year that he thought this offense, this team's up and through the lineup, would be the best that Oregon State's ever had, better even than that 18 club, which won the national title and, had 4 first-round picks in that lineup. I mean, that was pretty good. But I think had there not been a couple of injuries here and there, that might have held true for the duration of the season. But Trent Carraway's absence for most of the year, or Micah McDowell kind of being in and out of the lineup, a proven and very good hitter, for Brady Casper to have some issues early. I think the offense has been tremendous, don't get me wrong, but I'm not quite sure they fulfilled the best ever at Oregon State that Pat Casey thought they might be going into the year because of some of those injuries. And there's also, too, for me anyway, I'm old school enough. I know we live in a modern era of power ball and launch angle and exit velo and kind of tailoring a swing and even an approach to hit home runs and drive the ball. And the Beavers do that very well. They got a lot of guys. They won yesterday because they had a guy get a pitch in Mason Guerra, who's been scuffling mightily, but potent bat, good power. He got a pitch and he drove it to win the game. They have a lot of guys that can do that. But from the standpoint of offense, I think they fell a little short of maybe being the best ever, an inordinate number of strikeouts. I think part of that is in an approach to, okay, we can get a pitch. We're all capable of driving the ball out of the park. But to do that, we've got to get our pitch, and they become extremely selective and maybe not as aggressive as they should be early in counts, get deep into counts, and pitchers can pitch a little bit too, and they can make pitches that can get you chasing or taking. And so the Beavers, I thought, up and down the lineup maybe had a little too much of that, the swing and miss or the taking pitches and putting themselves in vulnerable spots. Defensively, this team was not nearly as good as some of the championship teams the Beavers have had. And on the mound, really good front Friday, Saturday pitching, so to speak, with Aiden May and Jacob Kamatz, and some good starts from the kid, the Sunday kid, and Eric Segura, who won a lot of games and showed a lot of promise. But there were some falterings in some back-end close one-run games. The Beavers lost 9 one-run games where it looked like they were about to win and didn't. So there's some things in this club, as good as it is, that gave all of us a little bit of pause along the way this year. Having said that, though, I think the talent level is close to almost any other club they've had that's gone to Omaha, that's won championships. I really do, from a speed, power, and the ability on defense to really make big plays and to play well. I think the team can still make a run, Justin, but it hasn't performed quite as consistently as some of those other championship-level teams of the past did.
Mike Parker, voice of the Beavs, joining us here on 620 Rib City Radio. And one of the things I don't know if the average fan knows. I'm sure the Oregon State fans are very aware because they are bought in on this baseball thing for the better part of 2 decades, which is always fun to watch, Mike. But I don't know if the average fan understands the difference in format when you go from a regular season where you are playing 3-game series and you've got your your Friday, Saturday, Sunday starters. You throw in a non-conference Tuesday game in there, and then you go into a 4-team round robin in the regionals, and the importance of pitching depth and the importance of having all arms available, and on top of that, pitching health is almost as important as whatever your seed is and whether or not you are hosting. How
Yes.
are the Beavs with pitching depth and, more in particular, pitching health?
It's probably the biggest question of all is what you just asked, because I do think offensively they have enough mashers in that lineup to be in games and always be a threat, to score, to have the big inning or hit the big home run as Mason Guerra did yesterday in one inning where you scored all three runs and won. But the question you asked, I'm not sure. The Beavers legendarily in '06 came through the losers bracket and found enough pitching with a guy like Daniel Turpin kind of coming out of nowhere to pitch a couple of ball games there, the games of his life. They've had other people through the years when they've had to kind of come through in Charlottesville the following year. They had to come back up through the losers bracket and ended up winning that there because they had some guys in the depth of pitching that you're talking about who could get the job done in the clutch in an elimination game scenario. And one positive here, and it doesn't mean that he's good to go now for 80 or 90 pitches, but they did start Aaron Lattery in the first game down here. Big A.J. Lattery, a 6'5" senior he pitched 3 2/3 innings all year. And the other day he threw 30 pitches, but they were quality pitches. He looked like a guy that belonged. He's a veteran guy with a mature presence, with good stuff, and he looked good. So to me, that coming out of this tournament in Scottsdale, that might have been the most encouraging development of all, to get another guy like Daniel Turpin or somebody that behind the three frontline starters in Aiden May, Jacob Kamatz, Eric Segura, now Lattery. Bridger Holmes has been a little bit adventuresome at the back end at times, but he's got filthy stuff at the back end as a closer. They're going to need all of the depth. The one thing I'm not sure the team can afford to do is lose, let's say in the Corvallis Regional early and then try to work their way back. I'm not sure they have enough of that to withstand needing to make a deep run through the loser side of the bracket. They're going to have to get out in front early, follow that good pitching in the first two games, and find a way to win that thing and not have to expend pitching because I'm not sure they have enough proven length and depth. But Lattery's emergence over the weekend was over the week here in Scottsdale was an encouraging sign.
Mike Parker, the voice of the Oregon State Beavers, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Mike, they always talk about with coaching, right? You never want to be the guy that follows the guy. You always want to be the guy that follows the guy who followed the guy, if I could say that 5 times fast. But the transition from Pat Casey and then now Mitch Canham in, year 3 or year 4? The COVID year always throws.
Well, it's actually year 5.
Year 5. See, the COVID year
was
throws
his
me
first
off.
year. I know. Isn't it incredible? It's incredible when you think about it. I mean, Mitch is in his 5th year, but 2020 doesn't feel as though it really counted.
Yeah.
But no, this is year 5 for Mitch.
And again, I feel like any time, right, you take over for a guy as legendary as Pat Casey, and you get in those, and you take over a program that was built by Pat Casey, you're always going to get those comparisons. But it does kind of feel like, now you said year 5, even more so, that Coach Canham has settled in. His fingerprints are all over the program. His players and the alumni and former players all bought in. It feels like that situation is going as well as it could possibly be going, correct?
I think so. Yeah, and the Beavers have won 40 games 3 consecutive seasons.
Yeah.
They're about to host in a regional. They played in a super regional 2 years ago. They've been sent out on tough regionals the other 2 years, but I think they're going to host again and get through their regional and get to a super, and maybe, depending on how things play out, maybe get that opportunity again in a super at home, depending on how the other regions go. So that's a pretty darn good record. Now, Pat had built the thing up, and then the interim year when Pat Bailey did a great job, and the Beavers were in the national conversation all year in 19 with Adley Rutschman leading the way. That was a year they ended up stumbling at home and losing the Corvallis Regional. And that was a disappointing end to what had been a really good year. So Mitch took a program over that was obviously performing at a very high level and become a national brand, but there's been no slippage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's done a great job that I hope people appreciate, because what you said at the beginning of the question, Justin, is absolutely right. The guy following the guy following the guy. Any of us need to do is take a look at UCLA basketball post John Wooden and see how many people gave that a whack, and the standards were so high, that no matter what Gary Cunningham or Gene Bartow or Larry Farmer or Walt Hazzard or really anybody did, it was not good enough. And I think in some people's minds, even this year when I survey social media at times, which isn't often, it brings me down.
That's smart. It's a smart move, Mike.
Speaking. So, but I see a good deal of criticism along similar lines, like, well, the Pat Casey team wouldn't have done this, or a Pat Casey team wouldn't have done that, and those sorts of comparisons, we all make them. I think we're all bound to what we've experienced historically, and I do appreciate and respect history, and I don't mind comparisons here and there, but I don't appreciate them when they're made at the expense of people who are right now in this time and place, I think, doing one heck of a coaching job, the way they're recruiting, the way they're developing players. Mitch has done an amazing job, and this season isn't over. I think there's still a chance for this team to make a deep run and maybe get some of the people who, Pat Casey's irreplaceable in a sense, Justin, just as John Wooden and the great coaches of all time. There's never going to be another Lombardi. Poor Phil Bankston. Who succeeded Lombardi of the Green Bay Packers? A man named Phil Bankston. Who knows who Phil Bankston is? You know what I'm saying? Mitch, in terms of what he's done to carry on a legacy, keep a brand and a tradition going, has been absolutely superb, and I think there's a good run in him still this year.
I like you, Mike. I like history, especially when it comes to Oregon State baseball, because while I work with super producer Brendan each and every day, I defer to him on Oregon State stuff. But every once in a while, Mike, I get to put my baseball fingerprints and just say, whoa, Brendan, you were in elementary school. I was there, which is always fun. So I do like the looking back, because then I get to go to Brendan and tell him I was there while he was a young Sherwood Bowman in elementary school.
Yes, he was, but he's grown into a very mature, wise, old Sherwood Bowman, and I'm proud of him, and we're proud of him. I'm glad you get to work with him every day.
Mike, I'm glad you joined the show anytime that you can. Always appreciate your time. Have a terrific holiday weekend. Hopefully back at Goss in a handful of days calling a regionals. Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to happen. I just heard Mitch this morning. We're all getting ready. We have 3 different flights home now. Ryan Gorton, the director of baseball operations, the ops guys have a big job on days like this, trying to get us all home. And we're on 3 different flights coming out of Sky Harbor, and we'll all make it back together. 3 different flights, different carriers, but we'll all arrive at PDX about the same time and get on the same bus and rumble back to Corvallis sometime tonight. But I could hear Mitch in the hallways, what do we do about Selection Monday? Do we open it to the public? And there's always a little bit of risk on that. And there have been shows where the Beavers have been left out when they were expecting to have their name brought up. And so I think it may end up just being a team affair come Monday, just in case there's a sense of disappointment, and then the general public doesn't have to go, in a sense, see that and see if there's let the guys kind of experience whatever is going to happen. Let them do that together as a team come Monday. But I think they're going to hear good news with respect to hosting. It's been great to be on with you guys, as always. Really appreciate you, and thanks for having me on. Hey, Mike, always a pleasure. Safe travels
Thank you.
Back to the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
There we go. I love Mike Parker. I love that guy. By the way, inside joke from earlier today, Bill Rowe out of Ashland, Oregon. That was who I couldn't think of about 3 hours ago. But we need to get to the break. When we come back, we wrap up the show and the week with the RCM mailbag next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up the big show. Get you ready to attack your holiday weekend. And even if it's a little cloudy, still fire up the grill a little bit. I grill. I said this earlier this week. I grill all year round. When it was raining, was it Tuesday? Like the big downpour came on Tuesday. Your boy was out there grilling because I will not be stopped. But hopefully you all have a fantastic holiday weekend. And the best way to get you prepared for that, I believe. Let's wrap up the show with the RCM mailbag. Here we go.
All right, Justin, firing up the big mailbag here on a Friday. We are going to switch some gears and make the mailbag all about me and you because it is the last segment of the last hour of this weekend. So, Justin, as you and I both get ready to board aeroplanes this weekend.
Fancy pants aeroplanes.
I would like to know, just for we've talked about it before, but just bring it back to the surface. What are those peeves about airports and air travel that are biggest for you? Because I sit here right now and I go, yeah, I'm going to be irritated when we land and everyone stands up and we're in the back of the plane and be like, where are y'all going?
See,
I
don't mind as much.
When everyone stands up.
I don't mind the everyone standing because I could see where, like, I know I'm not going anywhere, but if you're in the aisle and you've been sitting for 5-6 hours, you're like, I'm just going to stand up in the aisle and stretch the old legs, not anticipating going anywhere. But my biggest pet peeve with flying shall always be the fact that everywhere in life, everybody respects a line. Everywhere in life, the bank, the grocery store, the concession stand, everywhere in life, everyone respects the line, except getting on a plane where your seat's assigned. Now, I'm not talking about Southwest where, you want to get in on the first group and all that. I'm talking about regular old air travel where you have a seat that is already assigned to you. And I know you want to get in on first because then you get the overhead compartment and sometimes they're full, blah, 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 blah. But, like, the fact that no one respects a line of the boarding line, it infuriates me.
Yeah.
You're boarding group D. It's going to be a while. We have to get those with small children, those with special needs, active military. Are you wearing a Timbers jersey? They don't do that anymore, but they used to. Then first class, MVP plus, 750K. Like, we haven't even gotten to boarding group A yet, and you're D. Sit down. It's going to be a minute. Though that, because everybody respects this, like, and then everybody's like dumbfounded. Now, shall I throw out the other side of this? The airlines can be far more clear of who is boarding, because you do get the welcome all passengers, fly toward at San Diego. Those with small children, those special needs, they're prepared to board the plane. Like, that's what you hear in the airport.
It's true.
That tone, that cadence, and like. So then people look around and go, is that us? Is that us? I don't want the plane to leave us behind. Do you think it's something like psychological where you're worried you're going to miss the bus? Like, that plane ain't going anywhere. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome all the flight 243, so nonstop San Diego. If you are in our boarding group, please board the plane. It's like, did they say B or C? Like, they could be more clear. Could be more clear.
And the signage is terrible.
Signage could be a little bit bigger. That being said, when you're boarding group D, you're the last, right? You're the last.
So my question is, Justin, do you have any perks as to why you wouldn't be boarding group D? Because I will sometimes be that last boarding group, but shout out Alaska Airlines if you have the Alaska credit card.
I shouldn't hold that up. We're on camera.
Yep.
Steal my credit card. Good luck.
Woohoo! Double dip over here, baby.
I don't know if I should hold that.
Yeah, probably not. But
hold that credit card up. I was like, let's show Brendan. It's like, you're on YouTube, dude. Flashing your credit card
But no,
around.
like those perks, like getting free check bags. I'm just going to be an advertisement.
Okay, so let me ask you. Because I get a free check bag, I check my bag. Every time. Some people swear by the overhead compartment. Like, I'm going away for the weekend. I'm back on Tuesday. I could pack everything I need in a bag that could conveniently fit above my head, I'm going to check my bag. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 15 minutes at the carousel. What's the big deal?
It was, the $35-$40 each way, whatever it is. Different
different,
story
yeah.
for sure.
And also, I'm flying nonstop, so it's not like I worry about my bag not getting there. And you ever had your bag not get there?
No. Please don't throw that in the universe as I'm going to be 3,000 miles
You're
away.
flying nonstop, though.
Yes.
It's the connections.
Yeah,
that I
it's
think,
true. But no, yeah. That's
I've never had my bag not get there, but I have had, this was when I was younger and I was poorer. I was flying home from Vegas.
Okay.
Was in Vegas. I was at a coach's clinic and checked my bag through security.
Okay.
Sitting down, ready to fly, and they give if anyone is willing to fly tomorrow.
Oh yes.
We will give you a first class ticket, a free ticket to anywhere in the United States and Mexico, and we'll give you a hotel. And so I'm like, free night in Vegas?
Yeah.
Free night in Vegas and free ticket anywhere I want to go and first class tomorrow on the way home?
Assuming your bag made it to Portland.
Was Eugene, but
yeah, fair.
Yeah, so bag flew to Eugene.
Yeah.
Then I had to go about the contacting them and make it.
Which I bet that was tough going back to the hotel and not having a bag.
It's Vegas, baby.
Yeah, I love it.
It's
Look
Vegas.
at your
like,
optimism. There it is.
I was like, I'm good.
It's funny you mentioned
I just get up, come in the next day. They also gave you food vouchers the next day.
Yeah,
I was like, I'd be so dumb to say no to this.
When I was going to...
As opposed to I was asked recently if I could change my flight and $250 in credits. I'm like, try again.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned
my plans
that.
are not flexible.
The first time that ever happened to me was this last October when I went to Mexico, and it was a two-legger. We had to stop in L.A. and then went from L.A., stop in Phoenix, then went from Phoenix down to Cabo. And it was at Phoenix where, me and, wasn't the whole wedding party, but, a quarter of it or so, we're all together, and they go, all right, well, if anyone would like, I think it was $500 American Airlines voucher.
Now
and we all kind of were like,
depends on the time.
But we're going down there for a wedding.
I know.
And, it's like, well, the heck with
That's
it.
cutting into vacation.
Right. So that was kind of tough.
As opposed to I had a chance to extend vacation.
Like, for instance, I got offered a thing this week. Said, Brendan, would you like to move your flight from Sunday to Tuesday? And I go, for $50. Yeah, sure.
Sunday to Tuesday. That in 15 seconds. That's my biggest pet peeve with the flying is you know how many seats are on this plane. Why are you selling more? Why? Why are you selling more?
Bingo! Marks the spot.
You could try to explain it to me. I will never understand it. You know exactly how many seats are on the plane. You have sold said seat. Why would you
Don't
sell
oversell.
that? Oh, it drives me nuts. All right. It's going to do it for the big show. Thanks again to Mike Parker, the voice of the Beavs. Thanks to super producer Brendan. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific weekend. I'm back on Tuesday, bright and early here on RCM 620 Rip City Radio.